Hello friends, Clage back with another video today, and with Johnny coming out in almost exactly a week from the day of this recording, as well as we're supposed to be getting some new information on him. There's an event going on where players are going to be able to try him out, I believe, tomorrow and the day after at an event in Japan. So we should be seeing some new footage of his entire kit in Strive and how he works and what kind of new toys he has to play with. So I wanted to make a quick video talking about what kind of character Johnny is and what you can expect from his archetype as it translates into the Strive system. So, Johnny is obviously a very famous legacy character in the Guilty Gear series. He has a lot of notoriety. He's voiced by the legendary Noyo Wakamoto, and he's a fan favorite because he often is a character that oozes style while simultaneously requiring a pretty high level of execution that looks really, really cool when played to its fullest. So I want to talk about what Johnny does, how he works, and what you can expect if you're curious about picking him up in Strive Season 3. So let's just get into it real fast here. What kind of character is Johnny? So Johnny, at his heart, is a character that thrives on two main things. He plays a very strong neutral game thanks to his very fast for their range and very impressive pokes. So his stand kick is a very fast, good mid that just covers a lot of space. Got a pretty classic low kick. His jabs are not very far reaching, but for the type of character he is, they're quite fast. But where Johnny's real money is made is in his longer range pokes. This character is infamous for having very, very good screen control at the mid range. For example, his far S goes a very long way. His 2S goes very far. His stand heavy is an exceedingly far-reaching poke. And his forward heavy is a notorious move that goes a very, very long distance and has a lot of hit stop on it for big conversions and such. Johnny's normals also offer him some unique mobility, especially in the form of his forward kick, 6K. This move has been around since the character has existed. It's a staple of his kit. We've already seen it in the new trailer, actually. So you'll have a plethora of normals that are good at controlling screen real estate, at playing neutral and challenging your opponent, while also offering some unique mobility and some good options, too. He also has a very good forward punch. Forward punches are a bit more normalized in Strive, but I suspect this is still going to be a very good tool for him. The other thing Johnny excels at is that once he gets to you, he's a very effective pressure and rush down character. Typically, his mix-up is not the kind of mix-up where he's going to blender you out of your shoes with really crazy high-low play. Obviously, in the Strive system, he's going to have access to the roaming cancels and fast roaming cancels and all the unique system mechanics that those provide. So he may have some new ways to create some high-low, left-to-right kind of mix-up. But Johnny is primarily a character that puts you under duress with long strings of pressure and a very good strike-throw game. So he's the kind of character that you can play the mid-range and dominate very well if you're good with your spacing, good with your poking, and transition into a very oppressive pressure game based around a strike-throw offense. So what is the trade-off for this? What does he have to give up to have this kind of luxury and power? The main thing you'll note is that his mobility is a bit more unorthodox than the average Guilty Gear character. Johnny has a step dash instead of a traditional run. This does make his movement more committal than your average character. He doesn't have access to easy dash breaks by going into FD. When Johnny dashes forward, he is committed. He has to go the full length of this dash before he can do anything. He's not allowed to hit buttons. He's not allowed to go into FD. He's not allowed to throw out of this dash. That might change a little bit with the Strive system, considering how characters like Giovanna work, for example. We might see him being able to throw out of his dash now, but in this game, if you want to throw a character, you have to wait till the dash fully recovers before you can grip them. So his dash game takes a little bit of getting used to. If you play Giovanna, you'll probably feel mostly at home with Johnny, but he does not have normal ground-based movement, and air dashes, for the most part, are a lot slower in Strive, but Johnny, even in the older games, has a pretty slow air dash by most comparisons. This is not super fast, which makes sense for a character of his style. So you're going to have to learn some unorthodox movement and get used to that if you want to play Johnny. But once you get a feel for him, The step dash does have some unique benefits, considering the way it works. It can go over some lows. Because of the way step dashes work in Guilty Gear, your character is actually considered airborne briefly. I believe that will transfer over to Strive for some buttons, but it's hard to say. We don't know for sure until we start seeing interactions like that. But that's what you can expect out of Johnny in terms of his base kit. Now, if you know anything about this character, you know that there is one move that he is known for above all else, and that is this, Mistfinder. Mistfinder is Johnny's most iconic move. It is the core of his entire kit and game plan, and let's go into why that is. So there are 3 versions of Mistfinder. You have mid Mistfinder, which slashes in a horizontal range. You have low Mistfinder, which in most games does actually hit low. You do have to block your feet when that comes out. And oftentimes launches once you get to different levels. And then upper Mistfinder, which is a good space control tool, anti-air, swats people out of the sky, very useful. So this is a unique move in Guilty Gear. You don't see a lot of this, 3 different types of a move that are solely dedicated to controlling different parts of screen real estate. This supplements his long-range pokes that allow him to play neutral and to fight for space control. But Mistfinder is more than just a quick Eido draw that can threaten your opponent at range or slap them for being impatient. It has a couple unique properties. In this game, at least, it will cut projectiles. So if Kai throws a stun edge or anyone throws a basic fireball at you, in the past, Mistfinder has been able to nullify those projectiles by itself and oftentimes go right through them and maintain its hitbox. Mistfinder is not a projectile itself. It is still considered a melee attack. So it, in the past, has been able to nullify projectiles while swatting the opponent if they're not blocking, if it reaches. So something to keep in mind there. But what is really truly unique about Mistfinder is it's not just a special move you input and set it and forget it. Mistfinder actually puts Johnny into a stance. When you hold down the button for Mistfinder, whether you choose punch, kick, or slash, depending on which version of Mistfinder you want, punch is upper, kick is mid, slash is the lower Mistfinder, Johnny goes into what we call Mist Stance. And we've already seen this in the trailer. We know this exists. I'll actually show you the scene where that is here in a little bit. But Mist Stance is a unique thing. For one, Johnny now moves very, very slowly since he's in an Eido draw style stance. But this gives him a few unique options. One, his dash becomes more of a teleport dash. There are brief bits of invulnerability on this. And he can cancel the dash by letting go of the button and causing Mistfinder to come out. So Mistfinder, believe it or not, is actually not a button input. It is a negative edge input. Mistfinder only goes off when the button is released. In fact, I'll bring up the virtual stick here real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with the term negative edge refers to the act of releasing the input of a button. So instead of the button being pressed and registered as pressed down, it's when the button is released and is no longer registering as a pressed input. So if I put on the stick here, see, if I just do Mistfinder, it just kind of looks like, okay, I did quarter circle back, there we go. Very simple, right? But if I hold the button, we stay in Mist Stance, and it's not until I release, you see the K go lights off there to show I've released the button. That's when it actually comes out. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, it does change the input calculus on combos and other things. But the most important thing of all, and the thing that is the absolute crux of Johnny's kit at the end of the day, is that Mist Stance can be canceled. If you hit Heavy Slash after going into Mist Stance, you just exit out of the stance immediately. As you can see, this can be done very, very, very quickly, right? So you might think to yourself, okay, so it's like a fake fireball kind of situation, think like some of the things DJ has currently in Street Fighter 6. It's debate my opponent doing something, I can react. That is something you can do with it. That is not what makes Mist Stance and Mist Canceling powerful. What makes Mist Canceling powerful is that, like most special moves, Mistfinder can be canceled into out of a plethora of buttons. Pretty much any button that has a special cancel on it, which tends to be basically all of them in Guilty Gear outside of, like, Stand Dust. You can go into Mistfinder, right? Well, What this means for Johnny and what this does for him that's so unique to the character is that this allows him to take special moves that in their numbers by themselves are not terribly impressive. Most of Johnny's normals, especially his longer range normals, have pretty obscene recovery. They are jump cancelable and stuff like that, but if you just let them rock, you are in this animation for a very long time on forward heavy, for example, right? Even Fares, this is not a jump cancelable normal. Look how long this takes. That's how long the recovery is on Fares, right? You're just kind of stuck holding that. Well, all of those are special cancelable, and they're all special cancelable into Mistfinder, and Mistfinder has a cancel. So, what if I told you this move can look like this with nothing, or it can look like this? That's a big difference, ain't it? Miscanceling is what makes Johnny have some of the most terrifying pressure in all of Guilty Gear. His ability to go up and start a pressure string and have a plethora of options for ways to, 1, make moves plus that aren't meant to be plus, 2, create stagger pressure and openings for you to mash and hang yourself, 3, allows him to play a very, very safe form of offense that he is rarely going to be punished for in terms of just getting up in your face and threatening you with pressure. Learning how to miscancel is the core of playing Johnny at its heart. This is one of the main reasons that you'll often hear Johnny is considered, quote, a high execution character, because he's a lot of APM. You're going to be doing a lot of going into stuff and just canceling Mistfinder and going like this. You know, going like cancel out, cancel out, cancel out. That is a very common thing you're going to do. If you don't cancel into Mistfinder and do the miss stance cancel, your strings don't go very long. Like, I can do something like kick slash. We can do kick slash Mistfinder. Okay, that's safe. I'm not going to get punished for that. Not really a big deal, right? But that's not super impressive offense. You pushed a couple mids, and now your turn is over. Even if you go into a bunch of lows, right? Still not super impressive. Well, what if I told you we're going to grab the dummy here and have him do a string? Watch the kind of pressure you can put on your opponent. All of those little gaps there are very hard to challenge, and if you challenge at the wrong time, you're going to get counter hit, and that is really, really scary with this character. Johnny's counter hit conversions traditionally are some of the strongest in the series. Even when he is not particularly an amazing character in a given version, his counter hit conversions hurt. This is a character that does a lot of damage, and as we know, doing a lot of damage is kind of the order of the day in Guilty Gear Strive. So if he does anything remotely compared to his prior damage values, oh, this character's gonna hurt if he counter hits you. Now, something to note about Mistfinder is that in the old games, we have the mechanic here with the coin. Landing a coin projectile is actually what levels up Mistfinder. Mistfinder has multiple levels. So right now I have the dummy set to have level 2 Mistfinder. Level 2 Mistfinder launches for the low, for example. If it's level 1, you just get a knockdown, nothing special. You level this up by hitting people with the coin, and then the level increases. So this is important to note. Why am I mentioning this? Well, because in the new version that we've seen with the trailer with Guilty Gear Strive, it appears the coin projectile is no longer in use. Instead, what we have now is this card mechanic that you're seeing on the screen now. My best guess is this is what has replaced the coin mechanic, and I'm not going to be surprised if Mistfinder does not have multiple levels anymore, but is now designed to be used in conjunction with this new card mechanic. As we can see here, when he throws the card, combos into it, the card hits and then launches Kai there at the end. So my guess, my best guess, obviously we won't know till we get the full kit, is that this is going to allow Johnny a very different style of combo ability, but what he might sacrifice is not having access to multiple levels of miss stance cancel. So why is that important? Let's go over that real quick. So, in Xrd specifically, Let me get back to the screen here. The higher level you are, the faster your miss cancel is. See how fast? This is level 1 miss cancel, right? Still pretty fast. You're still saving a ton of recovery frames. We bump it up to level 2. Even faster. Pretty impressive, right? How about level 3? Yeah, no, crazy. Really, really good. Level 3 miss stance is one of the most terrifying things to face down in Guilty Gear Xrd. So, if we think about it, this could be a big downgrade on paper. Not having access to these higher level miss cancels, that could be a big deal for Johnny. This changes his calculus a lot and allows him very unique and very, very strong pressure along with his conversions. But I think the trade-off for that is going to be, even if he doesn't have multiple levels on miss cancel, even if he is just level 1, like base bones miss cancel, this is still going to be very strong in a game like Strive where many characters don't have a lot of plus frame normals. This character is still going to be able to get a lot of plus frame normals, even on block. And that's really good to have. The other thing is that I mentioned that Johnny's counter hit conversions are very good, right? So if we go on, let's go ahead and set counter hit on. Like, a level 2 counter hit, that's a big deal. Look how long this float is, right? Like, you have all day to go up and do something. As we know, counter hits in Guilty Gear Strive are very, very dangerous. You get the full slowdown. It's really easy to convert big counter hits because of the massive hit stop. So even if Johnny doesn't have extra levels, I think he's going to convert just fine in Guilty Gear Strive. I don't think that's going to be a problem. You may have heard or seen some of the memes, quote unquote, about Johnny in this game. Well, when I talk to you about how scary his counter hit conversions are, let me show you a very infamous one from Guilty Gear Xrd. We're at level 3 in Mistfinder now, right? Counter hit is on. All right. So let's say you got impatient, you're in the corner, and I catch you with Mistfinder. That entire wall stick to the slump, you can still combo. And if you think I'm joking, allow me to demonstrate. I still had time to go up and combo him. Level 3 counter hit Mistfinder is a special type of war crime. I hope Johnny is cool in Strive. I really hope he doesn't have that. That was not fun to play against, let me tell you. So, Johnny, again, very strong neutral pokes, very strong pressure thanks to access to miss cancel. That's going to be very, very important. That's going to be the main thing about how Johnny plays. He's going to be based around outpoking your opponent, gaining offensive advantage, and forcing him to hold some very dangerous pressure. There's a couple other core moves of Johnny's kit I want to talk about that we've seen in the trailer to some extent and one that we haven't. But another important core move to Johnny is what's called Zweihander. In the XX series, he had a similar move called Divine Blade. This is a two-part move that acts as both a option for new movement. As you can see, Johnny travels very far when you do this input. And it also has an attack on the end. In this case, Zweihander is the big laser beam kick that goes all the way to the ground. This goes all the way to the ground. It's quite good. Let me turn off counter hit real quick. This move is important because, one, the movement options, we're going to have access to RC. There's probably going to be all sorts of shenanigans Divine Blade has. Zweihander. Whatever they call it in Strive. We do know this move exists. Let me go back to the trailer for you real quick. I believe it's shown against Gold Lewis. So right here, so you get a counter hit. That's probably stand heavy, if I had to guess. But we'll see Johnny goes in to the flip. Very similar to what you just saw on the Xrd screen. And then this seems to have an attack where he throws the card at the end. This is going to allow Johnny a lot of convertibility in Strive. This means his long-range pokes will, in fact, easily combo into other things on counter hit. That's going to be very good. I think that's a big boon for Johnny in that game. So that's going to be a very powerful thing. One part of Zweihander and another move in the older games called Insinga I want to note real quick is that another core part of Johnny's old kit is a thing we call Enkasus. Johnny in the older games has access to a very unique knockdown where in the XX series it's Nsinga, in this game it's Zweihander. Zweihander, if you're up close and doing a combo, will typically hit twice. So if I go up here and do, what's going to be a good example for this? Should be able to do it in the corner. That's not quite what I want. Can you tell I'm not really a Johnny player? That's too far. What if I just do? That's even too far. Oh, yeah, Johnny has a weird hitbox. That's why. See how one hit there, it knocked down? Oftentimes, Zweihander is going to hit twice, but if you space it properly, you get a one-hit knockdown. These are commonly referred to as Enkasus. These are super important because they allow combos that have amazing corner carry, amazing damage and length, to end in hard knockdowns. So I have the dummy program to show you a base Johnny combo as an example. Goes all the way up. Enkasu. That is a hard knockdown. That is untechable. You are going to land. You have to hold that. We have not seen anything in the trailer that would lead us to believe that this sort of move is going to exist. Also, just the way Strive plays, they often have gone out of their way to not allow characters to do extremely long corner carry combos that also end in hard knockdown without spending meter. You typically have to use a super or a Roman cancel or something that allows you to gain a hard knockdown. I suspect these will not be in Strive. They might be. It is a part of Johnny's traditional kit, but Strive has shown it is not afraid to alter traditions with legacy characters. So I don't think Enkasus are going to be a thing. That is not the worst thing. It is a powerful tool. They are also usually one of the most strict requirements for playing Johnny at a high level because they tend to be character and spacing specific and require a lot of labbing to use consistently. So if you're looking for an easier version of Johnny, that not existing by itself will probably help quite a bit. The last move I want to talk about that we have not seen anything in the Strive trailer that shows me it's going to be involved is Bacchus Sigh. Bacchus Sigh is Johnny's mist that he can put on the opponent. What this does, this makes Mistfinder unblockable. So if I have the dummy set to block, right, I do Mistfinder, they block. If I do the low, they're not. Well, they would if I had block switching on. There we go. They block, right? Once you have Mist on them, they go into a stagger, and it's unblockable. In the earlier games and in an earlier version of Xrd, it was just a true unblockable. They just got hit and you got to do the full damage. This is a nerfed version of Bacchus Sigh. It's still quite good because YRC exists. That's a purple RC. Don't worry about that. So you could get those one-hit knockdowns, go down, use Bacchus Sigh, and set up unblockable setups. I do not expect this to be in Strive. I would be very, very surprised if they offer this character a way to knock down into a straight-up unblockable setup. Even Zato, who was the master of unblockables in the older games, does not have any true unblockables with the puppet and such. So I don't think we're going to see this. If it is in the game, that would be very strong in a game like Strive. But we have not seen anything in the trailer that would lead us to believe you should expect Bacchus Sigh to exist in Strive. So we've talked about Johnny's base kit, his pokes, his combo ability, his convertibility, his counter hit prowess, his ability to create very dynamic and flexible pressure to put your opponent under duress. What are Johnny's weaknesses? Where does he struggle? What can be his big issue? The biggest thing is two main obvious ones. Anyone who can blatantly outrange his pokes, where he can't force you to block these and go into miss stance cancel, that can be a problem. He does have to get to you to start pressure. Johnny doesn't have anything that just lets him threaten you all the way at max range. Even something like Zwei is only going to do so much, especially if you don't have meter to Roman cancel. If this gets blocked at this range, you're in trouble. That's not good. So he can be zoned out. He can be kept out if someone outranges him. We have characters like Nagoriyuki, like Ramlethal, Axel, especially characters like Happy Chaos and now Asuka, who are quite good at polluting the screen and preventing the opponent from moving in on them. That could be a problem for Johnny. We'll have to see what his kit does to solve those kind of screen pollution problems. The other thing that Johnny does not have access to is his defense is genuinely not amazing. I'm not going to say he has poor defense, but his defense is not great because, again, this character doesn't have lightning fast normals. His duck jab is 5 frames, and 5 frames is still good for a move of this range and what it can do. This is a decent mash move that you can use to abare your opponent with, but it's not amazing. Johnny's not going to have access to 4 and 3 frame normals in Strive. He'll be lucky if this isn't 6 frames, given the way the character plays. I hope he has a 5 frame. I think 5 should be the base for every character. Just my opinion. But what that means is once Johnny is put under duress, he does not have a lot of unique ways to get himself out of pressure. He's going to have to rely on universal system mechanics. So Johnny's going to have to use stuff like the instant block to reduce block stun, faultless defense to push people out. The new system mechanic we saw in the Strive trailer that causes pushback on offense, the kind of pseudo blitz that they showed for using your burst meter, that's something Johnny could really, really want to get himself a little breathing room. Because at the end of the day, Johnny only has one true invulnerable reversal, and that's my name super. This is really the only move he has that he can actually threaten to challenge you on his wake up. And typically, even though it's frame 1 invulnerable, it's a move that's often had a lot of ways to be baited or even low profiled. So Johnny's the kind of character who's going to have to rely on, you're going to have to use good blocking. You're going to have to strategically know when you should try to mash your way out or when you should try to make an escape. And you're going to have to use the universal defensive system mechanics. Johnny is not going to just dragon punch his way out of things or reversal through everything. That is not an option he has available to him, and I would be very shocked if that changes in Strive. When you have normals like this that can be canceled and made completely safe or plus in many situations, they're not going to let you just, fight people off when they force you into the corner and put you on the defensive. So, all in all, we'll have to see what Johnny looks like in motion, played against live opponents with his full kit at his disposal. I think what Johnny does well in the history of Guilty Gear has a lot of similarities with what Strive wants you to do well. The things that he excels at, really good pokes, controlling horizontal space with his big buttons. Slashes and heavy slashes are super important in Strive because those are your money buttons. Those are your big starters. Those are the buttons with the best Gatling options available on them. And if his counter hit conversions, again, are even in the same neighborhood as what they are in prior games, you're not going to want to eat a counter hit from Johnny. That's going to be absolutely terrifying. I will not be shocked if this character hits you with a stray heavy slash and you lose well over 70% of your life bar. I don't think that's even remotely out of the realm of possibility, given the way that Strive's damage works and the way Johnny has worked in the past. So we've seen other characters with these kind of pokes already excel at Strive. Nagoriyuki definitely takes a little bit of his kit from Johnny. These kind of moves, kind of similar to what Nagoriyuki does, controlling horizontal space. Ramlethal is another good example. These big horizontal sweeping moves that can control space and offer convertibility. So I think Johnny's base archetype is well suited for having high potential in Strive. Obviously, we won't know for sure until we see stuff like frame data and see what they've changed and what they've added or what they've taken away overall from the kit. A 1-minute trailer that had maybe 20 seconds of gameplay across it isn't going to tell us much, but we should be finding out here in the next day or two with some new footage what we can expect out of Johnny. So I think he's probably going to be a very potent addition to the roster. If you like high APM stylish characters, you are probably going to really enjoy this character. So if you have any interest, I definitely recommend checking him out when he drops next week. Let me know what you think. Are you interested in playing Johnny? Are you excited to see him back in the cast? Are you going to take him for a spin? You're going to try and play ranked, climb the ladder with him? I will definitely mess around with him, lab stuff out, see what he's got. Probably try and get into Celestial and just see how he feels in motion, see if I want to play him as a side character. Or maybe I'll find him more fun than Anji in Strive. Hard to say. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got. He's a important legacy character, and though he was an absolute terror in Xrd, and a lot of people have a lot of less than kind things to say about the horrendous things he could do to opponents in this game, he's still a very important part of Guilty Gear's history. He is one of the most recognizable characters, end of the day, so I'm glad to see him back. That's all I got. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of what you can expect for Johnny dropping next week. They said, let me know what you want to see out of this character, if you're excited to have him back, if you're looking forward to playing him. And yeah, that's all I got for now. Thanks again. It's good to be back making these videos. Again, not going to do one every day, but I'm going to have regular updates as we learn more about Season 3, and we'll keep the ball rolling here. So, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, I do have a Patreon now. If you want to support me directly for making this content, or you know when I do full-time streaming on Twitch, check that out. I'm going to be doing shout-outs to patrons here in some upcoming videos that are going to be a little bit more scripted and well-curated. So if you want a shout-out and some unique perks, one of the tiers, you get a monthly thank you picture from my dog, Fujin, who just turned 17 last month. He's my old buddy. So there's some unique stuff over there. Obviously, no obligation, never required. The content's always going to be free. I totally understand if you don't have some spare change to throw around. Trust me, I get it. So, but just going to plug the Patreon. And, of course, you know, if you want to like, subscribe, comment, that always helps, too. Just trying to diversify my revenue a little bit with how rough it's been on Twitch of late. So, as always, I appreciate you all. Thanks for all the welcome backs. I've definitely appreciated all the comments on the video from yesterday. And yeah, that's going to call it for here. So I will see you when we get more information about Johnny, more information about Anji's changes, and the overall changes to Season 3. Look forward to those videos. And I think that's all I got. So yeah, thank you for watching. Be safe, be good to each other, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.